Celia, let me jump right in with a question about the documentary format of the film. Because before Va Dando Tiempo, you also directed Te Busco en Todos and also parts of the feature film La Filla d'Algú, and these were both fictional films. So Va Dando Tiempo is your first documentary, and on top of that, it is a very personal documentary. And you know, the world of fiction is always at some remove from the real world. But in this film, you actually turn the camera towards your own personal world, so to something very close to you. And I was wondering, how challenging was that for you?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited for having the film in your festival. The thing is, for me, fiction, it has always had this thing of documentary. I've always written fiction thinking about or my life or my experiences or things I've observed and I want to translate to the world of fiction. Mm-hmm. So it's not so different for me. And in fact, Va Dando el Tiempo was born as a process of investigation for a fiction film, a feature film I'm writing. Mm-hmm. So in fact, Va Dando el Tiempo was not a thought documentary that I had an idea and I filmed it and I edited. It was a part of a process because I was in a how you say it, a program for mm-hmm. developing a film, a script program, and we had options for writing and investigating for make our process wider, you know, mm-hmm. like, okay, you can film, you can, I don't know, go somewhere. So I had the option, in fact, it's written in the film that I had like the option of filming in 16 millimeters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was writing about a film about the family. So I thought like, okay, right now, this is the situation in my family. Mm-hmm. I'm writing a fiction film about family because family is important for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use this opportunity to film something important in my family right now and see what happens. Like it was, for me, was having this piece made me understood why was I writing this fictional film.
So that's interesting. So it made you reflect back on your first.
Yeah, and in fact, this short film was something that I edited, as you can see in the film, like the
first bit that you shot as a child in 8 millimeter.
Yeah, that was later. Like the first thing I had was the 16 millimeter mm-hmm. Film. Yeah, and with that I could like think about my film. Mm-hmm. And I edited for my family because I knew that was going to be emotional and like having things on camera, it's important for us. Mm-hmm. But it was later that it became a short film. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting because it was not like, I wasn't thinking like, okay, I want to make a documentary. I want to make a documentary about my family. It wasn't like that. It was a very natural process. Yeah. And I think that's why it was so honest, because I wasn't thinking about how will it be received. Yeah. I was thinking about my process, my family, my grandfather, and sharing his story, or just having it physically in film.
No, absolutely. There's really a rawness to it, and as you say, an honesty that is quite breathtaking, quite astonishing. It's interesting that you say you edited it for your family, with your family in mind, and then later on, the documentary idea came in and other audiences came in. So how did that feel when the other audiences came in? Like, did you feel like, did that feel intrusive, or how was it to invite strangers into this very personal world?
For me, it was, I was worried about my family. I thought like maybe I'm sharing something that is very private,
Mm-hmm.
and I had this thing on mind, like maybe it's not right what I'm doing, like maybe I'm sharing something that should be kept for us.
Yeah.
But when I was telling them the process, like, okay, I'm talking with this production company that they are interested on helping me to finish this and to make it a piece and blah 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 blah. So when it first like got selected, it hasn't had like a lot of recorrido.
No, it wasn't
But
shown
it was,
at a lot of festivals before. Yeah.
yeah, but it was shown at a festival and it was online last year in Spain. And that first time was like, okay, maybe, but for them it's been, now they're super proud. It's been super special, like to receive messages from people I don't know, telling me that they have connected a lot because it reminds them of their family. The story of my grandfather is a story that reflects a lot of stories of people in Spain that had to immigrate from southern Spain to northern Spain. And it's a story that can, I mean, everybody is going to die someday, and everybody has lived that and in some people around them. So I think for me and my family, it's been a very nice process. Like it's celebrating our grandfather's life in a way that I couldn't expect. Like it was it's been very emotional and
no, and so it was for us. Like I think you captured it quite well. It is a very personal film, and at the same time it has this sort of universal layer to it. Like people can connect with it. It kind of speaks to people in a similarly personal way, which is very beautiful. And then kind of moving on to another thing, you said it's very much about your family and about your grandfather. But I thought it was also quite interesting how there's a lot about you as a filmmaker here, or quite generally, you know. I mean, as the title already suggests, a central theme of your film is time and the passing of time. And I thought it was very interesting how this passing of time in the film is linked with changes in the technology that you've used for filmmaking. I mean, you've talked about the 16 mil, which is sort of which became the basis of your film. But before that, we have a segment that you shot as a child with an 80 mil camcorder, and then after that, like after the 80 mil and the 16 mil camera segments, we have a segment that you shot with your smartphone camera. So I thought that was very interesting, this evolution of technology, also this evolution of you as a filmmaker, starting as a child and then moving on to the present. So I was wondering, while making the film, or sort of afterwards, since you said your own ideas about the film changed a lot as well, did you have the impression that this is also a documentary about your journey as a filmmaker?
Yeah, totally. Like, of course, the reasons why I was making this film, besides my family, were very much linked with my profession or the way I see cinema. I was in a place where I was very frustrated when I made that film, because I was in a place where I couldn't understand what I was wanting to make films. Like I saw it quite superficial, like I wasn't doing anything good for the world. Like why I'm doing, like it's a thing that I like superficial. Like I was we had just premiered our film, and there's a thing with film festivals or awards, or that make you lose touch sometimes. Like for me, talking at a festival like this, it's the thing I do cinema to connect with people. But
yeah,
some other times, like awards and recognition, it makes you lose touch with the reason making film.
It starts
and
to
for
feel
me,
commercial.
yeah, for me, I was very, very frustrated with that. Like, I couldn't understand. And like, I was obsessed with this thing of having the story of my grandfather, like physical, like in film, like,
Yeah.
and I think that is reflected in the movie. But then I found later, when my grandfather died, and I just had this 60 millimeters, the day of his funeral, we were at my aunt's house, and I found this 60 millimeter, this 8 millimeter cintas.
Yeah, the video.
And I started, the videotape, and I saw it, and it was, for me, it was like, wow, like the intuition I have as a filmmaker now, it's the same intuition I had when I was a child, that the first thing I filmed was my family and my grandfather, but I was free.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about everything that I'm thinking now. I was thinking about just the joy of capturing. And this thing I did with no judgment, it's now for me a present.
Yeah.
In the present, it's a present. You know, it's like, I'm so glad I did that. And so when the other film, the other part of the house empty, with the camera, the phone camera,
smartphone,
for me, it's like the representation of right now, how was I in that moment? Because I felt frustrated that I couldn't capture what I wanted. So what you see, it's nothing. Like, it's a house empty, and nothing that you have seen on film before. It's already, it's now.